and welcome back to the NWA 1983 project. I'm your host, Lex G, and with me, as always, is Matt Riley. How are you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm sore.
Ew. Is it pussy?
A little bit.
That's gross, dude.
Yeah, I'm a mess. I gotta stop banging homeless women. That's not true.
It is true.
I just bang them more.
They smell like tuna fish. That's weird.
Yeah.
On tonight's episode, it's going to be another cornucopia of great wrestling action throughout the NWA as we prepare for the Clash of Champions live from the Greensboro Coliseum. Now, guys, I understand that the Clash of Champions, the real Clash of Champions, did not occur until 1988. But fuck that shit. We're going to do that shit in 1983, and it'll be live from the Greensboro Coliseum. The main event will be Harley Race taking on Wahoo McDaniel for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. So that's going to be
nice.
A great episode. In terms of show notes, some of you may have realized that we're doing the best of the NWA 1983 project. Now, those are about 5 to 7 minute clips of stuff that we've talked about in the past. So if you want to kind of fast forward to a particular topic, those will be available to you. I'm uploading those about once a day. So, various topics and whatever. And if you're interested in showing a friend what exactly we do here on the channel, those are probably your best bet to kind of share. They do have links to the videos they originally came from. So it's basically, I went to go show one of my buddies what we're doing, and most of our videos are about an hour long. And it was like, this is like really long. And I'm like, no, it's really good. So basically what I did is I took the very best or the very worst of the NWA 1983 project, kind of isolated those things, and I'm uploading those to YouTube as well. And you can get your daily fix of the 1983 project on the channel now. So pretty neat. At the very least, a good advertising tool for us. So check that out. I saw a lot of podcasts and other channels doing the same thing. So we're jumping on the bandwagon here. And the name, the very best of the NWA 1983 project, is a take on the very best of Georgia Championship Wrestling. That was the Sunday show for a while on TBS, which is weird, which I do enjoy. So I just want to make everyone aware of that. We're not going away. We're not doing anything weird. We're just going to have those on a daily basis. Basically, you'll know when a video is about to drop when I don't post one on a particular day, because I like to give a buffer in between when I upload videos. So it's like one day before, one day after I upload, so everyone can watch the newest video, and on our end screen it has the most current upload on the end screen. So if you watch one of our older videos, you'll have a link to our brand new video as well on there. So I just want to make sure that everyone is cognizant of that. So I think our first topic of today is crazy shit I seen this week. And it has to start off with the debut of the Road Warrior. Not the Road Warriors, just the Road Warrior. I was watching Georgia Championship Wrestling, and they debuted the Road Warrior, which happened to be Road Warrior Animal, but not the Road Warrior Animal that you would come to see in the Road Warrior Legion of Doom incarnations. There's no face paint. He's wearing a denim cutoff vest with Daisy Dukes. Like short denim shorts. And kind of the weird motorcycle kind of cap that I guess bikers wore at some point.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily all familiar with biker culture. But I believe if any real bikers saw Road Warrior Animal, they would probably laugh in his face. And they get beaten up because he's probably 8 times the size of them.
Yeah.
He's gassed, juiced to the gills at this point, looking huge. But yeah, it was really off-putting, and it's weird to see number one Animal in singles competition. Number two, Animal not in his, I guess, memorable Road Warrior gear. So that was interesting to see in terms of Georgia Championship Wrestling. In addition, and man, I know you saw this, there was a debut video for the Road Warriors from Japan.
Yes.
When they came from outer space.
Yes.
So it's poorly done. They're like little squares. They kind of look like General Zod in the Phantom Zone. And they're kind of they show like these, I guess, stock images of like New York City and Paris and Japan, and they land with a big explosion. They walk out. But they're not aliens because they're wearing like fucking varsity jackets and shit. So they're going out, they fucking kill some deer with their bare hands. They find a limo driver, they beat up the limo driver, steal the limo. Then they're kind of in a junkyard, and then Paul Ellering appears and gives them, I guess it's a raw chicken or maybe a raw turkey, and they kind of rip that up. Then they end up like in a hotel room, and then they beat up the walls, and Hulk is flexing. Just for, I guess it's innovative for the time, because that had to be, I don't know, when they debuted in Japan, probably 84, maybe 85. But for a vignette like that, that's completely insane. Japanese culture, I guess. So Matt, what do you think about the Road Warrior and the Road Warrior's debut in Japan?
Well, I think a lot of things in Japan, they're just kind of going for the bizarre. But I it's funny. I always think of the Road Warriors, the guys that ran in the ring with the football pads on and beat the shit out of people. It was just like, all right, great. So I try to block those memories out of my head. Just go, oh, that's unfortunate.
And it's funny because early on, the Road Warriors kind of had a feud with Jack and Jerry Briscoe, which is
really?
like the two kind of like, it's one of their earliest feuds. Obviously, because the Briscoes they wouldn't be full-time much longer at this point. I believe it's for the national tag team. No, I think they were World Tag Team Champions at the time. I think it was for the World Tag Team Championship. So, of course, the Briscoes, won by count-out or fucking DQ or something. But yeah, that's how I figured out that Jerry Briscoe was a better talker than Jack Briscoe. It's like, yeah, you guys are all muscled up, or, we're going to stretch you, and we're going to tie you into knots, and you can't use those muscles. Ellering's the manager here. This is blonde Paul Ellering. This is jacked Paul Ellering.
Oh.
This is, like, he's fucking huge. And he looks almost as good as the fucking Road Warriors at this point. So that's really interesting to see. Again, I recommend Georgia Championship Wrestling to everyone and anyone that can hear the sound of my voice. It is fantastic. The only drawback is that you don't really get to see any of these blow-off matches because I guess they weren't taped at the Omni at least that often. And you run into issues where, the feud happened, they had the match, and then they're on to the next thing, and then they're just in a different direction. And it's weird to see because, from what I understand, Georgia had their main guys, but they would have guys come in all the time from all over the NWA because, guys over at Crockett or guys in the Pacific Northwest or, whatever the fuck, they would send guys to Georgia for, maybe a couple of weeks just to get them on TV because they're on national television. That's why you see randomly Bruiser Brody in there and Ivan Koloff in there.
Yeah.
Brody's working mostly in Texas. Ivan Koloff's working mostly in Mid-Atlantic, but you'll see them on the TV. Another strange thing I saw from Georgia was Terry Gordy by himself, which is kind of weird, I guess. Maybe not for some people. I mean, this is the Freebird by himself. And he's a tag team partner. It's not Jimmy Snuka this time. It's Tito Santana.
Really?
Yeah. So Gordy and Santana were a tag team. So that was weird. And it's funny because everyone's heard a Tito Santana promo, right? He'll say something, blah, 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 and he goes, Arriba, at the end, right? They're all basically the same. He's been doing that shit since 1983.
Well,
He's cutting that same fucking promo. And then on the next episode, Terry Gordy's gone, and now it's Tito Santana and Paul Orndorff as a tag team. Which is a weird combination, knowing, how things would kind of go in the next 2 years. But yeah, Santana outside of WWF is a little bit off-putting to me. He's so recognizable from the WWF, and he was there so early on multiple occasions. Anytime he steps into the NWA, it's kind of weird. It's like Hogan in the NWA.
Yeah.
When you see Hogan in Florida or you see Hogan in St. Louis, it's like, it's weird. It's not right. It's like watching old New Japan tapes and seeing Vince McMahon there. He ring announcing for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah, this is weird picture of Vince McMahon and Jushin Thunder Liger, which I'll probably post at the end of this video.
Nice.
It's like, what is going on here? The best thing you can do to change the narrative or the stuff that you've been told by the WWE is actually watch wrestling. Watch the shows. Watch some Georgia. Watch some Mid-Atlantic. Watch some WCCW. Watch St. Louis. You'll see Butch Reed as a babyface. What the hell? It's weird. Watch Florida. I'm in love with Florida Championship Wrestling, or Championship Wrestling from Florida, if you want to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Because their angles were so good. And anything that's involving Blackjack Mulligan, who is, I guess, an underrated talker. when people talk about promo skills, they never really mention Blackjack Mulligan all that much. But he's amazing. And, seeing his grandson now in the top position in WWE is like they're just genetically engineered to be wrestlers.
Yeah.
I believe that. So, and he's so fucking huge. He had to be 6. I guess if you want to spend the time and look him up on Wikipedia, he's probably like 6'6", but fuck, he looked like he was 6'8", 6'9". He's fucking wide. He's 320 pounds. He's wide as a fucking bus. So, those things are always really interesting to see. So, guys, in our last show, we talked a little bit about the best NWA champions of all time. I don't think I hit as hard on that topic as I wanted to originally. I think for me, and I said this on the last show, it's Ric Flair, it's Dory Funk, and it's Harley Race. And a lot of guys do this when it comes to comparing eras or history and that kind of stuff, and guys will always kind of bring up like Luthez and Jim Lundas for no apparent reason. I saw someone on Twitter is like, oh, how can you put Chris Jericho over Luthez or Jim Lundas or these guys? And the appropriate response was like, okay, tell me your favorite Ed the Strangler Lewis match.
Right.
Because 99% of the fans probably have not watched any of those matches. They're hard to find. I mean, you can find a little bit more Thez stuff. You can find some Dory stuff. And you find a fucking Jim Lundas match, and Buddy Rogers, it's going to be pretty tough to find kind of any of those matches. I know they just put on the WWE Network a Buddy Rogers versus Ric Flair, so yeah. That's interesting to see, and you see where Flair got most of his stuff from. Obviously, he added to the foundation that Buddy Rogers already made. So when you compare, like when we use the word like greatest, I guess it's the greatest that I ever saw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone who was around in the 50s and was there for Luthez's prime, they're going to say fucking Luthez. Anyone that watched Flair in his prime is going to say Flair. Yeah, same thing with Dory and Harley and that kind of stuff. But some of the earlier guys, like, I don't think there's an Orville Brown match on fucking YouTube. I don't think there is.
Orville Brown.
Yeah, how many Gene Kiniski matches are there out there? If you had them, let me know, because I'd buy them from you. I want to check those out. They didn't tape. They didn't tape off the television. It was all just live, as it happened, especially the stuff on the Dumont network in the 50s out of Chicago. Those were live. And it's funny when it comes to, when we compare and contrast some of these guys, it's like politics and buttfuckery has always been around in professional wrestling.
Yes.
For example, Luthez did not want to drop the belt to Vern Gagne. At that point, Vern Gagne was probably the next up-and-coming star during the 50s, and Luthez did not want to drop the fucking belt to him. Obviously, Vern Gagne got mad. He's like, I'm just going to make that fucking AWA.
Yeah.
So when we look at the greatest NWA champions of all time, I stand by my list. Everyone else stands by their list. It's just people's opinion. And there's nothing wrong with people's opinion. And I think where we get into issues, and even in today's political climate, don't let your opinions define you as a person. I've literally watched people who have been lifelong friends for 30 years because they don't agree with a political stance. They're no longer friends. They don't talk. And family members are the same thing. So I'll just be wary of those situations. And does your opinion mean more than a lifelong friendship? Does it mean more than a family member that you may not want to speak to anymore?
I'll tell you this much, though.
Yeah.
This is my opinion of those kind of things. If you wouldn't help that person move, if you wouldn't go to a party they threw or have them invited to your party, are they really a friend?
That's a good point.
So that's why I've been jettisoning people off Facebook. Like, you know what? I don't need you.
No, I've been doing the same thing. I think I blocked 70% of my Facebook at this point, to be honest. And I've done that for various reasons. Like, I don't want to argue with family members in front of people on Facebook when they say crazy shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I'd rather not do that. We'll have that conversation in private, and I'll call them an idiot to their face. But, just keep that in mind. I want everyone to keep that in mind. Don't let your opinions define you, especially when it comes to interpersonal relationships, because I think they may be worth a little bit more. But back to the NWA, and Matt, I have a question for you. At its height, do you think the NWA World Heavyweight Championship was the most prestigious championship of all time?
Well, I think so. I always thought it was more prestigious in WWE because thought higher of the skill level of the wrestlers.
I definitely agree. Even the championships nowadays don't mean nothing. So you throw those out right away. And I think where it comes to the NWA champion would defend the championship in every territory, in Australia, in Japan, made a couple shots in Mexico, not a whole lot, in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Singapore, and Hawaii, and they're all over the place. And until the national, then global expansion of the WWF, the WWF Championship wasn't defended in that manner. It was just basically defended out of the Northeast. Maybe some shots in Canada here and there, but there was nothing world about the Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
Right.
Strictly in the Northeast. And for a while, I grew up on PWIs. I wasn't a sheet person. So my education came from the PWI Almanac, kayfabery, and that kind of stuff. But it gave me an appreciation for those things. And I think those things shouldn't be lost. When it comes to the WWF, the PWI actually relegated to a regional championship. When they succeeded from the NWA, they weren't considered a world championship by the PWI for a while. They would get it back and they would lose it again. And then by the time, 83, 84, they're clearly the, considered a world championship. In my opinion, the NWA World Championship is the most prestigious title of all time. Obviously, today, it is a shell of its former self. I couldn't even tell you who the current champion is. I couldn't tell you who the last 5 champions were. The last champions of note for me was Blue Demon Jr., Colt Cabana, and Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
So there you go. I don't even know what territories are in the NWA. I don't know who runs the NWA. I don't know who the current president of the NWA is. Essentially, it's kind of, I'm not going to use meaningless because there's a lot of, wrestlers and there's a lot of promotions out there that still, carry that banner and use that name. But I am curious about how it went down after Crockett sold his promotion. So I'm assuming Crockett was the NWA president at the time where he sold.
Yeah.
What happened to the NWA the day after? Okay, Crockett sells to Turner. Who's in charge of the NWA? Who represents the NWA interests to Turner? Are there other promotions still viable at that point using the NWA name? Obviously, they're not using the champion by that point. What championships are still around? That kind of stuff. Until we saw it resurge in the early 90s when the NWA Championship made it back onto WCW television. And then we saw no little resurgence when it went up to TNA, but those times in between are not necessarily well documented, especially the first, I'd say from late 88 to 1992, what was going on. I know that they'd done stuff with some Smoky Mountain. I know Dennis Carluzzo was running an NWA promotion over here in New Jersey.
Oh, man, Dennis Carluzzo.
Yeah, he's insane, but he's awesome. He's hilarious. But in terms of, I'm curious about where any of this information is documented, if there's a book out there talking about, the original dark times for the NWA and how, it kind of fell apart post Crockett. Was Crockett still involved? Because he was going to build a new promotion with Paul Heyman, I believe in 1993. I wonder if that was going to be NWA affiliated. He's going to do Crockett was innovative. He was the first guy looking into online streaming in
Really?
1993.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was this new thing, the internet, we can probably stream stuff over this. Obviously, the technology wouldn't catch up, but, if you have Hulu, Netflix, WWE Network, that's a reality now, and he was talking about that fucking 30 years ago.
That was time.
Yeah, yeah. NWA Championship of all time, probably the most prestigious belt ever during its heyday. So, what, fucking 1948 to 1988, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I think what was 91 or 92 when Flair took the big gold belt with him?
Yeah, so he took the big gold belt with him in the summer of 91. So that was weird. That was another off-putting scenario to watch. Seeing that belt that was so closely...
Get blurred.
Yeah, that was later. They showed that shit on TV for a while before, they put the injunction on.
Yeah.
And they had to send the belt back. But that belt was on, and they used a tag team championship, which they blurred out. So you look at your look at your Survivor Series 91. You'll see it blurred there, but that's a tag team belt. And not for nothing, I just saw a fucking MSG house show, or I think it was MSG house show, where they just had the belt, and it's clearly a tag team belt. He's wearing it, and it's not blurred. Like, they forgot to blur it or something. And that's fucking kicking around somewhere, so that's real interesting to see.
Nice.
Yeah, because who gives a shit about the people in the live audience? That's the same attitude they have for today. They don't give a shit about who's in the fucking live audience. If they gave a shit about people who were in the live audience, they wouldn't fucking cut fucking 6 hours of TV in one arena at one shot. So fuck those guys. We're doing a TV show. Although I would love to go see 6 hours of wrestling and jobber matches. So that's probably a fun time. So I guess in the news, as of late, there's been a lot of buzz about Jinder Mahal and his push out of nowhere. Last time I seen Jinder Mahal, he was getting beat by Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw. But all of a sudden, he's the new number one contender for the WWE Championship. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm happy to see. I mean, I think anything that changes the regular old day-to-day of WWE, you know, it mixes things up. But I do think the specter of them going into India may have something to do with it.
Now, do you think...
I mean, it's not quite going into Philadelphia and getting an Italian boxer to fight the champion, but, you know, it's...
Do you think that's... What's the word I'm looking for? Exploitive? Like, to me, they just figured out that Jinder Mahal was from India. Or he's Canadian, but he has Indian descent. And like, oh, we're going to India real soon, and we just launched Shop Zone, and let's give him a push. And you know, based on his own talent, the way he's been handled before, he's never been out of the lower mid card.
Yeah.
So, you know, is that wrong? And if they really wanted to do something with this guy, they would have brought him in with a bigger push. Like right off the bat, you make this guy sound, look, feel like a world champion. If he's someone that you're going to put in that role in 2 to 3 months. They didn't do that. I don't think he won a match. Maybe on the main event, but who the fuck watches that show? You know, I'm not complaining that it's Jinder Mahal. I like Jinder Mahal. He's a great look. He looks fantastic. He's solid in the ring. A decent promo. My issues is the way he's been handled up until this point. Now, would it be awesome for him to win the belt and they go into India and draw big crowds? Yeah, I guess that would be great, but they tried that shit already with Khali. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me about what they draw in India. Right now, wrestling in India is really hot. I just watched a video of some kids fucking wrestling in the street.
Yeah, but Great Khali was never the worker that Jinder Mahal is.
Oh, I agree. Maybe they saw through Khali. Like, this guy fucking sucks.
Right, and I think you could, if you build a match against, who's it, Randy Orton, right?
Yeah.
He's the champion?
Randy Orton.
So Randy Orton, and you're going to have a fan reaction that you won't get over here.
Right.
And I think that's the part they're looking for, because you can sell that. That's going to be, it's like when you have those post-WrestleMania shows in like the Bronx, you know, and everyone goes fucking nuts. You're going to have a chance to have a crowd that's insanely hot for the guy to win, and then if he keeps winning, he comes back on a wave. And even if you do the Ric Flair, you know, Puerto Rico title run, you know.
Would you have him win the belt over there?
Right, absolutely. You have him win in like New Delhi in some kind of huge, like the biggest show or one of the,
like a soccer stadium or some shit.
Yeah, and you're gonna sell shirts galore. The one thing I'm curious about is if I go to, let's test out this theory, because if it's truly exploitive, so I'm going to the WWE shop, and if I look for Jinder Mahal merchandise, am I going to find Jinder Mahal merchandise? I see tees as low as $10 having a sale tonight.
Their quality on their t-shirts is balls.
Yeah, really? So balls bad, not balls good?
No, balls out, not balls in.
Okay.
Yeah. And definitely not balls deep. Now, the problem with their t-shirts is that, and it's a personal preference, I like my t-shirts thin. I like thin t-shirts.
Right.
You know, I like that soft feel against my chest and my body. I put some lotion on, get lotioned up, put on a t-shirt, feel pretty good. Their t-shirts are the more of the really, really thick t-shirts.
No.
Like, not even like normal thickness, like they're extra thick. And I guess that's to make it last longer, I guess, but they're just fucking too thick for me.
Well, I can plug a t-shirt I bought at the Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
Yeah.
but I bought it from Redbubble.com, and I got the tri-fabric one, or tri-weave fabric. It's that light but strong fabric.
Yeah.
$26, but you know what? Worth it. The shirt's phenomenal.
It's like
Love
Egyptian cotton, like 2,000 thread count.
Sure.
I don't know what I'm saying.
By the way, there's no Jinder Mahal shirt that I'm seeing.
Because he's a heel.
No, there's shirts for all kinds of guys, heels or fans. There's a Kurt Angle shirt.
Is he a heel?
No, it's damn true. It's a cool logo.
Is there a Bollywood Boys shirt?
Is there already? Wow. There's Southpaw Regional Wrestling shirts, but the quality probably sucks. There's a Kurt Hawkins shirt. Come on, man.
Do you think they're just gonna fucking have him get beat at the pay-per-view for no reason?
Well, that's the thing. Do you, if they go on a tour of India, which I'd look that up first, see if they have a tour of India coming up, because if they do, then I'd say you see the belt on the guy. Because if he goes into the tour as a champion, those fans would come out. I think it'd be a bigger thing if he's challenging for the belt in India.
I agree.
Want the anticipation of watching.
I agree, and I would have him get jumped after the match too, get some heat on him.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd have that.
Let's see if we get a riot on their hands.
Yes,
I know guys are kind of like, oh, fucking riot. No one wants to see a riot. Sometimes you want to see a fucking riot. I was like, we're gonna try to get a riot here to go.
What they want is a amazing visual. They want an arena going berserk as he wins.
Yeah.
Do not screw it up. I know it's the WWE theme to go to their hometown and screw the hometown boy over.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if WWE Shop Zone India is a site. Because if there's Jinder Mahal shirts on that site, exclusive India Jinder Mahal t-shirts.
Right.
But I'm not seeing anything on Google. Fucking weird though. What's his finisher? Does anyone know?
No,
I've never seen him use a finisher because I've never seen him win a match.
He won a match the other day.
I didn't. Was it on Raw?
That was SmackDown, wasn't it?
Where was I? I was probably taking a piss.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah. So Jinder Mahal, I think it's a positive. Anytime someone's new in the main event scene, it's always an exciting deal, regardless. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully, it goes in the right direction. And he's someone, and a lot of people should take note that leaves as a job boy and comes back, and now he's in the main event. So I think a lot of these guys shouldn't be, if they get released, or hell, I would even ask for my release and like, oh, I'm going to go to Ring of Honor, I'm going to go to Japan, I'm going to do a lot of these other things. These guys are going to want me more. Come back, and you come back as a bigger star. You probably end up getting a better position in the company. Maybe not the main event, but maybe you'll get upper mid card. Maybe you get an IC title hunt. Maybe you'll mean something to the show.
Right.
And you get to redefine your character. You have more control of your character. You're more comfortable with your character. You get to do what you want. The Hardys came back after God knows how long. Fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
Curious to see where they go from here. But otherwise, I think it's an overall. It's a positive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a positive.
They got a picture of Jinder Mahal before and after.
You think he's juicing?
Oh, I'd say he's very on point with his workout regime. I mean, maybe they told him and said, hey, we're going to India. We want you to get buff as fuck.
How fuck would they be if he fucking fails a wellness before he goes?
Oh.
Like, there's no way they're letting that. He might fail on the way back, but there ain't no way he's letting them fail that.
Right.
Because that would be fucking catastrophic.
Yeah. So I do think if you take the right supplements religiously,
you can mask it.
Yeah. No.
Why do guys get popped anyway? So it makes me think that the whole shit's a fucking work, and they popped Roman just to pop him.
Maybe.
Get some sympathy on the guy. Jesus Christ. So for those of you who are new to the show, just kind of explaining what we are and what we do here, this is clearly the NWA 1983 project. And what this show is essentially about is, what if the NWA combined its resources, find someone, an enterprising young man, to take the helm of the NWA, perhaps buy the NWA entity outright, start a promotion over in Los Angeles, and try to go national. About 10 months 11 months prior to Vince McMahon and the WWF going national, and I guess late '83, early '84. And what would that look like? What would that entail? We've gone on a couple different scenarios in terms of business. You want to get the best merchandisers. You want to get the best marketing. You want to get the best music. You want to get your celebrity involvement. You want to definitely still push pro wrestling, because that's what makes the NWA different from the WWF, because they're more work rate based. And those are the type of matches that your fans are accustomed to. It's about kind of remaking the brand. So when people think about professional wrestling, they're not thinking WWF, they're thinking NWA. And we basically had about a year to do this. And we've gone over a bunch of different scenarios from the business aspect of it, from a booking perspective of it. But we're still on the hunt for a wrestler that can compete with Hulk Hogan, because we're not going to have Hulk Hogan available to us. So who would that wrestler be, and why, and that kind of good stuff. So, Matt, if you had to pick for your guy to compete head-to-head with Hulk Hogan in terms of popularity, in terms of being the number one wrestler, the number one wrestling name in the world, someone that can hold its own on Johnny Carson or David Letterman, someone who could do interviews, someone who could be the face of the NWA moving through the 80s, who would you put in that spot?
It would either be one of three people. It would either be Piper. It would either be Jesse Ventura. If he was, still theoretically able to wrestle.
Yeah.
And I would say third would be, to go head-to-head with Hulk Hogan, I almost want to say superstar Billy Graham, but again, he's older, so it's hard. But
if it was 10 years before, then yes.
Yeah.
If it was the mid-'70s, absolutely. He made the template for Hogan. He would definitely be the guy. Dusty Rhodes, again, 10 years prior, would have been the guy. When he was in shape and doing stuff. Still an awesome promo. Piper is definitely a candidate due to his, we've seen what he can do on interviews. We've seen what he can do in the real world, quote unquote. We've seen them in major motion pictures for the most part. Someone he's definitely comparable to Hogan. Definitely is a better worker than Hogan to an extent. Although Piper himself is not the best in terms of he's not Ric Flair. Well,
right.
A lot of people are not Ric Flair. He doesn't have to be the best worker, but he has to be someone that the NWA fans can say, okay, that's our guy. That's our guy.
Yeah.
Flair's a candidate, but involved in turning him babyface for the most part. That's
right.
difficult to do over the long stretch. Although, realistically, Flair was probably never a heel anyway. His reactions were mixed for the most part. Now, if he's in the ring with Dusty and it's 84, then not so much. Ronnie Garvin in 87, he's clearly the babyface, at least in the fans' eyes. Maybe not in the promotion's eyes, but in the fans' eyes. Probably one of the first guys to get that modern split reaction.
Yeah.
Where some of the fans, all the fans respected him. Some of the fans didn't like him. Some of the fans did. But everyone respected him. Where we see today, modern fans, you take a Roman Reigns, I'll say it. The crowd's not liking him. He's a heel. The crowd doesn't respect him either, which is a much bigger issue.
Yeah.
We see fans trolling him online about the death of his brother. They say, "Oh, I wish it was you, Roman. We liked Rosie better." That's legitimate. That's like back in the Crockett days when a heel died in a car accident and they announced that the matches, the fucking fans fucking cheered. That's fucking heat. That's real fucking heat. So I'm still on the search for my replacement for Hogan, and I guess we'll unveil it at our biggest show of the year, which would be Showdown at Shea Stadium, live from Shea Stadium in Flushing, Queens. That will be the last show for the NWA 1983 project, and then we'll probably take a little time off at that point, and then we'll go into the NWA 1984 project. And we'll see how that goes. But we still got a ways to go. We got Starrcade way down the road. We're going to head down to Detroit, Cobo Hall, and we'll seek the Sheik and Bobo Brazil on that show too, because again, one of the things that Vince McMahon did really well was take stars from that area and put them on his show. Right. So you went into Mid-South, you saw JYD and Paul Orndorff, and you went into Florida, we saw some of the Florida stars, and there's Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo. You go into Texas, we see our Texas boys over there, minus Devon Eriks. And Vince was really good about making sure that if he was going into a territory that, although his wrestling is different, he wanted to make it familiar at the same time. That's why when he took over the Wrestling at the Chase program, he kept the name Wrestling at the Chase until eventually it went to WWF syndication television. But he kept those intact. He went into Georgia Championship Wrestling, World Championship Wrestling, kept it. And didn't give him a WWF syndicated show. Kept that show. Same thing with Maple Leaf Wrestling. He had a separate Maple Leaf Wrestling show for a while. Until he went to nationwide syndication with like WWF Superstars or Championship Wrestling, depending on the time frame. But we're going to use that same tactic, and that's why we're bringing in, for Detroit, the Sheik and Bobo Brazil, although they're probably 10 years out of their prime, in some cases 20 years out of their prime.
Yeah.
They'll be nowhere near the main event, but it's going to be a special attraction. So I think that's super important. Obviously, we're not going into like Chicago, Minneapolis. We'll stay away from that. After that, I guess our next notable show will be the anniversary show for EMML in Mexico. We'll see a lot of luchadors in that show. I haven't decided what the main event of that show is going to be. We got to see how it plays out. We don't know if Wahoo McDaniel will win the championship at the Clash of Champions. You know, that's a very big possibility. But like I was saying before, we're going into Atlantic City, New Jersey, and that'll be 3 shows from now. And what does, I want to ask you this, Matt, what does Blackjack Mulligan, Superstar Billy Graham, Dusty Rhodes, Larry Zbyszko, Ivan Koloff, Stan Hansen, what do those guys all have in common?
They were guys that were fed to Bruno.
Those were guys that were all fed for Bruno. Those are all guys who worked for the WWF.
Okay.
Obviously, we're going into a WWF territory area in New Jersey, so we're going to have a lot of former WWF guys on that show. It only makes sense. Main event of that show is going to be Superstar Billy Graham taking on Harley Race, if he still has the belt, at that show. We're also going to have a lot of great matches. We're also going to have the Dusty Rhodes Kevin Sullivan rematch on that show as well. Those are some of the tactics in terms of booking. Obviously, we'll see how it goes through 1983, who our champions are going to be. And we'll take it from there. We might have to unify some of these belts because we're running around with a lot of different belts. We have the American champions. We have the national champion. We have the United States champion. We have a lot of championships. Again, all representing a territory, and how we're going to clean that up. Crockett never did a great job of cleaning that up, especially when they bought the UWF. When they brought Georgia, they had these belts kind of, I thought, lingering for too long. WCW always had way too many belts anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's my other question. We're getting back to, what happened to the NWA after Crockett sold out. One of the things that did happen was the identity crisis for Jim Crockett Promotions, or whatever they call that fucking Turner thing. I guess it's Universal Wrestling Corporation. It's actually the official name for WCW. But they kept on calling it the NWA, and I wonder if that hurt WCW, because it wasn't like they kept the NWA name straight through. They kept on flipping back and forth with it. So it was WCW. Oh, it's NWA. The NWA World Champion. At that point, the moment Turner bought from Crockett, everything needed to be WCW. There should be WCW World Championship, WCW World Tag Team Championship. Now, they did it in 91-ish, 92-ish, that's when they finally changed the names. But at that time, it was fucking 5 years later.
Right.
And as a kid, I watched those shows. I started watching WCW in 1989. They kept on going back and forth. I'm like, what is this called? So look at PWI, it's NWA. Jim Ross would sometimes call it NWA, sometimes he would call it WCW. It was the NWA World Championship. And I think early on, that confused a lot of people. And a lot of people still thought it was the NWA. A lot of people thought it was still Jim Crockett Promotions. Where's this based out of? Atlanta? Were we based out of Charlotte? Where are we based out of? For a while, they were based out of Texas. That's a whole other fucking other thing.
Right.
So I think they had an identity crisis. I think they needed right from the get-go, right off the bat, to kind of rebrand it to WCW. If that was the name they were going to use for that. It caused problems down the road, obviously. I mean, the moment that Turner bought, we're gonna break away from the NWA. We're not going to use these belts. We'll still have the physical belts, but we're going to change the name of these belts. It's a brand new day.
New day.
What are you going to do there? So, guys, in the comment section, if you have someone that can be the Hulk Hogan of the NWA as they go national earlier, please leave your suggestions in the comment section. There's no idea too wild. Some people say Paul Orndorff. Other people say Ricky Steamboat. Who do you say? No, that's my question. I'll give you my pick when we end this thing.
I think I know who it would be.
Who do you think? And if you're right, I'll edit it out.
It rhymes with Randy Savage.
Not Randy Savage.
No. My God.
Not Randy Savage.
You're a Randy Savage fan.
I'm the biggest Randy Savage fan. I'm planning a trip to Florida this summer, and I do expect to go visit his grave.
Really?
Yeah. So we'll see if I'll do that. Maybe I'll take some pictures or something, if that's not too morose for everyone. But no, it's not Randy Savage, because I'm keeping Randy as a heel. Especially in 84. I can't make him no baby. He ain't no babyface in 84. The most viable option is probably Ricky Steamboat at this point. But is he too exotic looking? I don't know. Maybe that doesn't matter. But if you're in Dalton, Georgia, maybe that does matter. You know? And it goes into, a tricky situation because, I was thinking about this today. It's like, hey, late 70s, throughout the 80s, it's like we never had the black NWA World Champion. Hell, we never had a black WWF champion.
Right.
Why? Now, obviously the racism, right? Everyone's going to say racism on this, and that's probably true to a degree. I know it's true to a degree. But was a lot of it, like say, we'll use Rocky Johnson as the example. You have Rocky Johnson, pretty good worker. He's good on a promo, super athletic, right? Definitely a viable option for NWA World Champion. Why not him? Obviously, you're running areas of the country. He'd do well all over the place. There's not a place that he wouldn't do well. Would it be St. Louis? Would it be Georgia? This guy's been everywhere, right? And he's done well. He's been, high enough on the card where it's not completely ridiculous, but protected to a degree. I'm like, why not? Okay, so we have racism, and that's probably maybe 75% of it, maybe 50% of it. I don't know. Maybe they felt that having a black champion, that the white fans wouldn't come out and they wouldn't support him. I don't know how true that would be in 1982, 1983. Or maybe that's still the case. I don't know. Maybe. Or is it the Bruno Pedro Morales thing? As you know, Bruno was a champ. I had a hard time getting fucking heat on him because anytime a heel would do anything nefarious to Bruno, they fucking riot. Riot. Someone busted up Bruno, he's bleeding, riot. Same thing with Pedro. Pedro would be getting beat down, fucking crowd would come up and they would fucking riot. So is there a possibility that, say, a Rocky Johnson, they want to put the belt on him because if they get some heat on him, and maybe some of the more predominantly black cities across the, if they're going into the Cow Palace, if they're going into St. Louis, they're going into some of these areas, they think the black fans were going to riot. Is that a possibility? It's an interesting thought at the very least. Is that the reason why the WWF didn't do it? They had Rocky Johnson there. Rocky Johnson could have beat someone who beat Backlund. It's a really interesting thought because, that's the reason they put the belt on Backlund. He's like, we're tired of all these fucking riots. We gotta fucking pay off cops and shit. Lawsuits are becoming a thing. Fuck this shit. We're gonna put the belt on fucking vanilla ass Backlund. No one really gives a shit. He gets his fucking brains bashed in. Fuck him. Because they're tired of all the fucking riots. And I wonder if that had something to do with it. And that's something that's never really talked about. Is like, was that a possibility? There've been black top stars. We go back to Brobo. We go back to Thunderbolt Patterson. We go back to a litany of guys. Butch Reed for a while in Mid-South. JYD in Mid-South. You know, there've been black top stars.
Mm-hmm.
But having the first black champion and having him get some heat, or someone does a run in the match, hit him with a chair, bust him open. You're in fucking St. Louis, you're in Chicago, you're in New York City. How will the fans react?
Right.
Is there a possibility that you get the wrong reaction? Say you're in some of these cities, and they'll boo him because he's the black world champion. At the very least, it's an interesting thought, and I wonder if I'm public relations and people ask Vince McMahon, it's like, Vince, how come it took so long to have a black champion? They were like, they fucking would have rided it on us. They wouldn't do anything with it. That would be the more, I guess, palatable answer on that.
Yeah.
You know, not that there weren't black stars or the good backlessers, because there obviously were. They're some of the best of all time. You know, Luther Lindsay, for example. Go watch a Luther Lindsay match if you can find it on YouTube. Interesting thought, nonetheless. So, guys, we are officially out of time. So join us for our next show. We'll be live from the Greensboro Coliseum. It will be the Clash Champions. On that show, we're going to see Harley Race taking on Wahoo McDaniel for the NWA World Championship. For the NWA World Television Championship, Ricky Steamboat taking on Kevin Sullivan. That should be an interesting match. So, for Matt Riley, I'm Lex G. And